Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. Good morning yet again. My name is Martha Alu.
And my name is Victor. Okay, once again, good morning and welcome to the big conversation.
The big conversation. Yes, it is important, and it's one that we have seen in our scene for a very long time now. And since 2015, after the entire Boko Haram thing started in 2015, or was more pronounced in 2015, from then on, I don't think that the nation has rested at all when it comes to security and the violent attacks that takes place here and there. Before we get on, it's worthy to note that one veteran actor, Joke Silva, did an entire documentary, and it was just centered around the mothers of the Chibok girls. It's one that I'm pretty much excited to get my hands on to see the story from their perspective as well. But today's headlines are not just numbers. They are names, they are families, and futures interrupted. In Plateau State, recent attacks have reportedly left dozens dead across multiple communities, with entire villages displaced overnight. In Benue State, long regarded as Nigeria's food basket, recurring violence has displaced thousands in recent years, with farming communities repeatedly targeted and agricultural productivity severely affected, as we now see in the distribution of food in our system. Now, fresh security concerns are emerging from Niger State, where communities continue to grapple with armed banditry and mass abductions. As of today, the government of Niger State, or the governor of Niger State, had confirmed about 15 people being killed in some of these attacks. According to humanitarian data, Nigeria has over 2 million internally displaced persons, largely due to conflict and armed violence. And in the Middle Belt alone, thousands have been killed over the past decade in recurring clashes, often linked to land disputes, armed groups, and criminal networks. Now, in the Northeast, insurgency has also lasted more than 14 years. In the Northwest, banditry has led to mass kidnappings and school abductions. In the Middle Belt, communal violence continues to erupt despite military deployment. Now, the government's response has included military operations, deployment of special task forces, even rejigging of the security system, air surveillance, community engagement initiatives, and repeated assurances that perpetrators will be brought to justice. The federal government has consistently described many of these attacks as acts of criminality, banditry, or terrorism, and has pledged stronger intelligence coordination and security reform. Now, I came across a video where the security advisor, National Security Advisor Nuru Ribado, was talking about how if your brother is your brother and your brother does something, would you completely disown your brother just because they did something wrong? So that was just talking about those people in the forest, and he was trying to make a case for them. Of course, I laid hands on that claim over the weekend, where he was talking about the fact that they're still human beings, they need to be considered, they are probably aggrieved, and what have you. We have seen the government time and again put funds to rehabilitate the victims or the perpetrators of this crime, as a matter of fact, which is very concerning to both myself and many other well-meaning citizens of the country. But these disputes, these interventions, these patterns remain painfully familiar. Attacks at night, delayed response, displaced camps filing up, and communities asking the same question: who truly protects the Nigerian citizens? We saw the Chief of Defense Staff say Nigerians need to equip themselves with knowledge on how to protect themselves, when we have a government, a security infrastructure that is dedicated to doing that. So this morning, we're not just discussing insecurity. We are interrogating state capacity, intelligence architecture, prosecution rate, and the structural reforms required to break this circle. So many things I would want to ask. How did we get there? Why does this violence persist, or why does it recur in the same regions? Niger didn't used to be at the forefront of this report, but in the last couple of weeks or months, we have seen Niger State report consistently about these attacks within their communities. It's as though it is spreading from one part of the country to another part of the country to another part of the country. And before you know it, it is now a pandemic, if you ask me. So this is the reality. Nigerians feel insecure, and we'll be talking about that this morning, particularly spotlighting the situation in Plateau State.
Very true. And, you know, one of the concerns we've always heard is the very fact that if this is not nipped in the bud right now, it is going to escalate and it's going to creep into every other part of the country, Nigeria. And that is what we're seeing happening right now. You know, 15 persons confirmed. Today is the 2nd of March, right? So just in the month of March, we've seen 15 confirmed, you know, dead people, you know, based on insecurity that's happening in our great country, Nigeria. Between February and now, over 30, you know, confirmed death rather has been, you know, put there on the social space, on the media, mainstream media as it is. Now, these are concerns that have, you know, kind of made our heart really, really broken in our great nation, Nigeria. And I do hope that, I mean, so much hopes that the government has got to do what it needs to do. I mean, these guys have been given so much of a free, you know, imagine where a government will come out to say that we want to build, asking the presidency, a state government asking the federal government to approve, you know, the building of a rehabilitation center, you know, for the perpetrators of this particular crime. It goes, you know, to tell you how they are even more accepted in the society instead of finding a way to eradicate them and, you know, take them completely away from the society. And these are things that actually worries us even the most.
All right. Now, to join us on this conversation this morning is Mr. Stephen Aluko. He's the Plateau State Director, Civil Liberties Organization. And together with him, we'll be talking about the security crisis in Plateau State, the affected people, and the killings that have ravaged that state. Good morning to you, Mr. Stephen Aluko.
Good morning, and my pleasure to be with you this morning.
Thank you so much. Right, let's get right into the matter. Mr. Stephen, what is your general assessment of what happens in Plateau State? Because we are here in the FCT, in the state capital, and a lot of us rely on the reports that we get from the field and some of the reports that we get on mainstream media. But having someone who lives the experience, please can you tell us about what is now the current state of people in Plateau State?
Number one is to condemn the act of terror and dehumanization of people and citizens of this country. Secondly is to say that it's as a result of long-term abdication of responsibility by different levels of government, local government, state, and federal government. Because by Constitution, the primary essence of governance is security of life and property. And on the plateau from 2001 till date, deliberately, different governments have not acted rightly, from the federal level to the state level. And sometimes, even their intervention run at cross purposes. Some people are taking support from the federal, some from the state, but put it is lack of justice. And the legal framework to effectively check this is also missing. It's just of recent that the Plateau State government is putting its act together to put that in order. But largely speaking, it's about the defection, the defective and the misplacement of national security. We cannot just term it as Plateau issue. It's a national issue, and this, the responsibility squarely lies with the office of the president and the federal arm of government. And then the security architecture at the federal level, in most cases, they are caught off guard. Either they don't get intelligent reports, and where they get intelligent report is not properly analyzed, and where it's even analyzed, wrong deployment of limited personnel is also a matter of fact. So if you put all this together, from 2000, our governments have always been found flat-footed. Even the security agencies sometimes, it's either they are late in response, and where they do respond, we also see absence of justice on the part of the people. So it has been on the increase. As we speak today, over 64 communities are internally displaced on the plateau, and foreigners, not foreigners, I say foreigner, people that never resided in those communities have taken over the community, and in some places renamed the community. So I can say wrong profiling is also another factor, where we see either genocidal act being painted as a minor criminal act or non-government overgeneralization of one thing or the other. But to say squarely, the problem lies squarely with the federal government that control the present architecture to prevent crime or to remedy crime and to avert it. And most of these people living in IDP camp have been internally displaced from 2001 till date. So even what we have as a semblance of a settlement or resettlement, they are not durable, and in most cases, they are open to subject of attack. Not too long ago, the secretary to the state government of the Plateau himself was under severe attack while going to also condole and sympathize with victims. Exactly.
And these are very worrisome accounts, just like you stated. But seeing again that there are multiple security operations that are already underway in Plateau State, and then we still see lots of armed groups still able to penetrate villages and main transit routes like the Jos, Pangshin, without interception. Again, these are very worrisome situations as it is. But what do you think? Where specifically do you think is the breakdown in the chain of intelligence and response within the Jos, community or Plateau State as it is?
Let me say clearly that most of these attacks are of predictable pattern, and in most cases, the community that are affected do always raise security alarm, early security warning signal. Unfortunately, the response from the security agent, in some cases, they are found flat-footed, and when they are even deployed, either rightly or wrongly, because of their limited understanding of the ecology of the area, is a major factor. But the major problem is because most of the forest area have become ungoverned space. Government have not been able to comb those forests and make those places an unsafe haven for criminal elements. And this is why the civil society on the Plateau and like other civil society in Nigeria have been asking for deliberately reprogramming, repositioning, and regrafting of the security architecture to enhance state policing and community policing. If we have this in place, not only will they also have the privilege of getting intelligence, they will analyze it, and they will also respond as a first front of security architecture to nip some of these problems so that a complemented effort can come. Some places that we've seen on the Plateau, you see that the security men are not there, or they are there, they are not given the right order, or secondly, they are found flat-footed because they don't even know the area. There's some instances where they move in the wrong direction, where the victims are already traumatized. So the most important thing is that we must, as a matter of priority, as a country, deliberately reject the security architecture to allow for state policing and community policing so that people can, on their own, take some form of measure before this effort is complemented from the federal level. But largely speaking, we must, and this is the best time. I've read the National Assembly, if at all they are national in all intent and purpose, saying till the end of the year before we can have the policing system. It is wrong. The best thing to do now is to accord it the priority so that we can save more life and protect it. And this does not exonerate the president. The president, if you have also prioritized security, he could also raise an executive bill so that before now, like we have the National Assembly clearing all the ground and accepting everything from the executive to make sure that we have a speedy passage or amendment of the law to make sure that we have this security architecture at the local government level, at the community level, and at the state level, so that at the end of the day, the life of Nigeria must be bright and the life of Nigeria must count. And one issue, before they do that, we must allow some effective regulative mechanism to allow for self-defense, even at this community level, because this community sometimes they are in the most remote area, no infrastructure. Even when security are coming, they cannot get to that place in good time, and that is why the maiming and the killing have continued on the Plateau. So we must get to that point where we were able to allow the people within a minimum corridor of mechanism to protect their life and property.
All right, let's explore the ground reality. We saw the recent attack yet again, I think sometime last week in Plateau State yet again. Can you give us account of the latest report in Plateau State? What exactly happened? How many communities were affected? Has any arrest at all been made? And has any security forces been deployed there for control?
First is regrettable. And like I said, in most cases, the warning signals are there, but because of lack of early response mechanism, it degenerates. Yes,
Okay.
there were instances in some people were ambushed on a community was attacked in the area of Mango, and then because of lack of justice, people were protesting, and in retaliatory form, some people were killed that happens to come from some places in Just North. And when the news filter into Just North, it creates a ripple challenge and the rest of it. But let me say this, that it will have degenerated more than that, but for the prompt response by the state government and the prompt response by some community leaders that make sure that they were able to nip the palm. But unfortunately, immediately those people were off, the criminal element took advantage. But thank God, is not beyond control. But regrettably, those are lives that will have been saved. Those are lives that will have been protected. Those are lives that will have been defended if we have effective mechanism in place to make sure that first, there is no continuous attack of community, and secondly, that people do not take to the road to block the road, and in anger, which was not justified, killing innocent people. So those are the ripple effects from 2001 to it has taken that dimension where government is not acting promptly, or when they are not seen to be acting rightly, people taking a retaliatory measure, which in most cases is innocent people that have become a victim of that day.
So if I understand you correctly, Mr. Stephen, you have reiterated the fact that some of the major issues that we face is not just about the systemic failure, it's also about infrastructure, because he has now recounted that if there's proper infrastructure, right, then the security operatives can get there on time,
right,
to at least salvage the situation. Not all, but at least be able to salvage the situation to a reasonable extent. So much more than that is infrastructure as well. I just wanted to point that out. And now it will lead me to the next question. Why do we see repeated attacks in same states? Because much more than Plateau State, we know that they've also been repeated attacks in Benue State.
Yeah.
We have seen the same in Niger State. At least these three states have been at the forefront of attacks throughout the resurgence of these insurgents and these terrorists and extremist group operating here in Nigeria. From your experience, having lived in these communities as well, what can you deduce as the reason that there's been consistent attacks on the same states, and in some cases in the same community in that state? Do you think it's intelligence failure? Is it response failure? Is it political failure? Is it a structured system? What is your analysis based on your experience? Are you with us, Mr. Stephen?
I think the network is we're having a network glitch right now.
Yeah, network, because it is very concerning that it's happening in the same state all the time,
right,
the exact same state all the time. And you know, I saw a video. I think I forwarded that to them sometime. I saw a video, and in that video, police officers were just coming somewhere. This should be somewhere around, I think it's in, is it Sokoto or Benue State? Can't remember the exact state that had happened. But the police officer, they were just within somewhere seated, and police officers or armed men in military uniform were just coming into the community, and people just took to their heels. They took bikes, they ran away, and the security operatives had to say, we are the ones, we are security operatives,
right,
you know, be at ease. That was just to me, that video was just to me a reflection of how
the reality of
yes, the reality of many states or many people within these communities. That's their reality.
Yeah.
These days, you don't even know who is a security operative anymore.
No.
These people also carry arms. These people also wear camouflage,
yeah,
like the Nigerian police or the Nigerian military, as the case may be. So these people had to keep pacifying them and saying, you know what, we're the ones, you know, we're the ones, be at ease, before they were at ease and, you know, continued about their imagine living like that every single day.
You call that a trauma response, right? Because just like you stated, the bandits dress similarly to this security personnel. Almost every time they carry out their attack, as much as they do. you see how they dress exactly the same way that the Nigerian police or the Nigerian military personnel dresses. And there's no way you can basically bring a calm to their spirit, unless the Nigerian military personnel have completely eradicated the presence of the bandits from their communities.
All right, we have Mr. Stephen back online. Thank you so much for joining us again. Do we have your full attention?
100%.
All right. So before there was that break in transmission, I was asking a question. I say we see repeated attacks on same states time and again. In Plateau State, we have had nothing less than 4-5 attacks or even more within Plateau State alone. The same thing with Niger State, the same thing with Benue State. In your experience, right, what do you see is the reason? What do you see or what do you make as the reason for these repeated attacks in the same states? Do you think it's intelligence, response, or political failure? And are these purely communal clashes as was alleged in the past?
One thing to say is that all these attacks are deliberate. They are systematic, they are organized, and they have a circle of sequence that they follow. And because of the misinterpretation of the war, I call it war, is what is also aiding and abetting these people. Nigeria is at war with itself. And if you follow all security reports, sometimes they say they are foreigners, sometimes they say it is never a community report, it's genocidal, where you deliberately target some community within the state, maim them, kill them, and occupy the land. There are cases on the plateau where those places were occupied and where religious centers were turned to another religious community name, given a different name, totally different from the native name. So what is missing? Lack of political will and deliberately manipulation of what is involved. I've said it earlier. Sometimes you say it's an unknown government, sometimes it's community, and you critically ask as civil society, which community is A, which community is B that is fighting themselves? Because what we are saying here is that it's a failure on the part of the government in not securing its citizens, in also addressing the case of justice, in also stemming the rise of evil at a different level. What is happening in all these states, especially in North Central, it is deliberate, it is systematic, and it deliberately is genocidal to clean up a set of people.
Mr. Stephen, are you on the line?
Within some templates of occupied. Yes, I'm on the line.
Okay, go on. Yeah, go on. You were breaking at some point.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Yes. Deliberately, government has failed, especially at the national level, in classifying this group of people that have been identified, and in some cases they come out to say they are the one, in not classifying them as terror group is a major problem. Secondly, it's also deliberately saying that they are unknown government. Sometimes some of these people are known within the community. Sometimes evidence are dropped, but because of lack of justice system, that is what have emboldened these people. And let's tell ourselves the truth. Abuja is being in danger. If Kogi is not safe, Niger is not safe, Plateau is not safe, Kaduna is not safe, Benue is not safe. It's just a matter of time. And deliberately some of us have been shouting before now. Go and look at how Afghanistan fell. It is when you allow people to circle the seat of power and one day they take it on the government. So we cannot isolate it from a deliberate
we can see right now, we're here from Dara, we saw people who were killed and right.
Government sometimes, and because of late response sometimes. So it has been a repeated pattern, it has been a repeated cycle because of lack of political will and deliberate manipulation or giving it a name that it does not deserve, and have emboldened them to this point, to the point that people are no longer safe even on our road. So it's a general breakdown of the security architecture in this country and in this state, and it needs to be addressed. And unfortunately, our National Assembly and the presidency is not acting fast as expected. I expected by now that we should have had state policing, should have had community policing, so that they'll be able to activate whatever they can do to protect land. Like the director of DSS said, that self-defense is the best mechanism. And there's a provision in our law that provides for self-defense. You don't allow criminal element in whatever shape to come and maim and destroy people, and you allow them to go free. It's a challenge on the state. It's a challenge. It's terrorism against the people, and deliberately, the food security is going to suffer because most of this community are agrarian community that produce most of the food that we have in this country. So it's in the best interest of the government to act now and act fast to make sure that we don't continue this line of bloodletting and stains of life and blood in our hands.
Mr. Stephen, again, reports indicate that most of these attacks happens at night within the communities as it is. How does this fear of home invasion affect daily life and the simple sense of safety within these communities?
A great number of Nigerians are not safe, and worst off is the double jeopardy that this community face. Some of them can no longer go to farm. Some of them have farm, cannot go to harvest it. Some of them that harvested their produce, they got burned. So there's a total breakdown of their social communal life. Many of it has been broken. And like I said, some have remained in IDP camp, internally displaced camp, for as long as you can think of.
Wow.
That's one. Some of their children are no more in school. Some of them have lost out of their school program, and then some of them, their even religious life is broken, is desecrated. Some of them don't have access to the ancestral land, ancestral sacred place, and some cannot go to church, some cannot go to mosque. It's a total breakdown of life and order in those communities. So it's a dysfunctional community that we have in those places. Now, the best we have had, and this is why government must be serious, is protecting road from Plateau to Abuja, Mina to Abuja. The rural area are the vulnerable set of people. If you come map what is happening in Kwara State, in Kogi, in Niger, and other states, Benue and the rest, it is the rural area that have been lacking in one form of security or architecture or the other that are now victims. So it's a holistic approach, and government must rise up to the challenge. Otherwise, one day they will take up on Abuja.
All right. How are survivors even coping right now with the trauma? I mean, are there mental health services available in Plateau for victims of violence, or is this completely neglected?
Let me say this is complete neglect. Even the stipends that government give cannot even go a long way to massage some of these loss. Many of them are traumatized. Some have lost their husbands, some have lost their wife, some have lost their children, not just one child, in numbers 5, 6, 7 sometimes, and sometimes a whole family is wiped out. So it has been traumatic, and thus far, our health sector is failing, our psychological sector is also failing. So some of them are left on their own, some of them are fending on that. And the long-term implication is that in the next 5, 10 years, if adequate measure is not put in place to checkmate and heal the wound of these people, may have a lot of people suffering from mental health challenges here and there. And then if care is not taken, terrorism will also go in its palm. Because when people are terrorized and traumatized, they may have no other option than to also return to a possible retaliative option or taking law into their hands. So it's in the best interest of the state to make sure that these people, they are well taken care of, they are resettled, and they are properly reintegrated into their home. And there's what they call durable solution. What is that durable solution? Where you're able to return these people back to the form of life they were living, the form of social, economic, and political life they were living before now.
Well, thank you so much for being a part of the program this morning. My name is Martha Alu.
And my name is Victor. Okay, we will see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.